Okay, so welcome. I know this is a weird time for me to be doing this, but I'm up and might as well. I might not get all 25, 26, 27, and 28 done, but I'm going to try to get at least two done. So let me share my screen. There is no comment of the week this week. We'll go ahead and say that. Um, but that's fine. There doesn't always have to be a comment of the week. All right. Let me make sure you can see this. And there we go. All righty. Let's get to it. And by the way, I know some Jews come by my channel. And for the Jews, I am not making fun of your holy book. I'm making fun of the interpretation of the holy book that I grew up with. So I know that's like splitting hairs, but I'm sure you can guess why I do it. You know, I don't mean any disrespect to the Jews. Uh, I'm sure that the Jews don't interpret Tanakh the way Christians interpret Tanakh. So it's just a little aside. I know I don't say that often enough, but I should. All right, let's get started. Chapter 25. Amaziah was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 29 years. His mother's name was Jehoadan. She was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, but not wholeheartedly. After the kingdom was firmly in his control, he executed the officials who had murdered his father, the king. Yet he did not put their children to death, but acted in accordance with what is written in the law in the book of Moses, where the Lord commanded parents shall not be put to death for their children, or children be put to death for their parents. Each will die for their own sin. Okay, I just gotta stop right here and point this out. This is one of the major things that the Jews have against the Christians. I mean, besides the fact that Christianity is a blood cult and a death cult and, you know, all of that stuff. And that is that Christians um, believe in original sin. At least most Christians do. I know the Mormons don't. The Mormons do not believe in original sin. Um, but most people do. But most Christians do. Sorry. Um, and most Christians believe that Jesus died for the sin of Adam and that the sin of Adam has come upon all people. When it clearly says right there in the Bible, and it's actually uh, quoting part of the law of Moses, where it says, "Children shall not be put to death for the sins of the father." Um, yeah. So, just yet another thing you've got to deal with, Christians. Man. All right. Verse 5. Amaziah called the people of Judah together and assigned them according to their families of commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds for all Judah and Benjamin. Then he mustered those 20 years old and more and found that there were 100,000 men fit for military service, able to handle the spear and shield. Sorry. He also hired 100,000 fighting men from Israel 400 talents of silver. But a man of God came to him and said, Your Majesty, these troops in Israel must not march with you, for the Lord is not with Israel, not with any of the people of Ephraim. Even if you go and fight courageously in battle, God will overthrow you before the enemy, for God has the power to help or overthrow. Amaziah asked the man of God, But what about the 100 talents I paid for these Israelite troops? The man of God replied, The Lord can give you much more than that. So Amaziah dismissed the troops who had come to him from Ephraim and sent them home. They were furious with Judah and left for home in a great rage. Amaziah then marshaled his strength and led his army into the valley of Salt, where he killed 10,000 men of Seir. The army of Judah also captured 10,000 men alive, took them to the top of a cliff, and threw them down so that all were dashed to pieces. Why? Why didn't they just kill them all in the field of battle? This makes no sense. Not that I would expect it to, but I don't know. Maybe hey, purple. Yeah, really. Okay. I guess they just did things different back then. Um, there's a whole field of archaeology called the archaeology of war. um, it deals with archaic forms of battle and stuff like that. And obviously, I know nothing about it, so this could just be how things were done back then. Yeah, right? Alrighty. Verse 13. Meanwhile, the troops that Amaziah had sent back and had not allowed to take part in the war raided towns belonging to Judah from Samaria to Beth Horon. They killed 3,000 people and carried off great quantities of plunder. When Amaziah returned from slaughtering the Edomites, he brought back the gods of the people of Seir. He set them up as his own gods, bowed down before them, burned sacrifices to them. The anger of the Lord burnt against Amaziah. He sent a prophet to him who said, Why do you consult this people's gods, which could not save their own people from your hand? While he was still speaking, the king said to him, Have we appointed you an advisor to the king? Stop. Why be struck down? So the prophet stopped, but said, I know that God has determined to destroy you because you have done this and have not listened to my counsel. Yeah, so God's just a big meanie. We already knew that, right? Moving on. After Amaziah, king of Judah, consulted his advisors, he sent this child to Jehoash, son of Jehoahaz, son of Jehu, king of Israel. Come, let us face each other in battle. But Jehoash, king of Israel, replied to Amaziah, king of Judah, a thistle in Lebanon, sent a message to a cedar in Lebanon. Give your daughter to my son in marriage. Then a wild beast in Lebanon came along and trampled this thistle underfoot. You say to yourself that you have defeated Edom and now you are arrogant and proud, but stay at home. Why ask for trouble and cause your own downfall and that of Judah also? Amaziah, however, would not listen, for God so worked that he would deliver them into the hands of Jehoash, because they sought the gods of Edom. So Jehoash, king of Israel, attacked Amaziah, king of Judah, faced each other at Beth Shemesh in Judah. Judah was routed by Israel, and every man fled to his home. Jehoash, king of Israel, captured Amaziah, king of Judah, son of Joash, the son of Amaziah, at Beth Shemesh. Then Jehoash brought him to Jerusalem and broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the Ephraim gate to the corner gate, a section of about 400 cubits long. He took all the gold and silver and all the articles in the temple of God that had been in the cave Obed Edom together with the palace treasures, and the hostages returned to Samaria. Amaziah, son of Joash, king of Judah, lived for 15 years after the death of Jehoash, son of Jehoash, king of Israel. As for the events of Amaziah's reign from the beginning to end, are they not written in the books of the kings of Judah and Israel? From the time that Amaziah turned away from following the Lord, they conspired against him in Jerusalem, and he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. He was brought back by horse and buried with his ancestors in the city of Judah. Then all the people of Judah took Uzziah, who was 16 years old, and made him king in place of his father Amaziah. He was the one who rebuilt Elath and restored to Judah after Amaziah rested with his ancestors. Uzziah was 16 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 52 years. His mother's name was Jecoliah. He was from Jerusalem. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father Amaziah had done. He sought God during the days of Zechariah, who instructed him in the fear of God. As long as he sought the Lord, God gave him success. He went to war against the Philistines and broke down the walls of Gath, Jabneh, and Ashdod. He then rebuilt towns near Ashdod and elsewhere among the Philistines. God helped him against the Philistines and against the Arabs who lived in Gurbaal and against the Meunites. The Ammonites brought tribute to Uzziah, and his fame spread as far as the border of Egypt because he had become very powerful. Let me just say something before I move on. I believe this is the Uzziah that was king during Isaiah's. Hey, baby. That was Callie. What? She's talking to me. Anyway, I believe this is the Uzziah who was king during Isaiah and all that good stuff. So I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about him. If not, if I'm wrong, then, we won't. But I believe this is the Uzziah who was king during Isaiah's prophetic life. All right, moving on. Yes, she's talking. She's talking to me. What? Baby, I gotta get on with this. Sorry, I talk to my cats. I don't know whether you talk to your cats or not, but I certainly do. All right, moving on. Uzziah built towers in Jerusalem at the corner gate, at the valley gate, and at the angle of the wall, and he fortified them. He also built towers in the wilderness and dug many cisterns because he had many livestock in the field and in the plain. He had people working in his fields and vineyards, the hills, and in the fertile ground, for he loved the soil. Uzziah had a well-trained army ready to go out by divisions according to their numbers, as mustered by Jael, the secretary, and Messiah, the officer, under the direction of Hananiah, one of the royal officers. Total number of family leaders over the fighting men was 2,600. Under their command was an army of 307,500 trained men of war, a powerful force to support the king against his enemies. Uzziah provided shields, spears, helmets, coats of arms, bows, sling stones for the entire army in Jerusalem. He made devices invented for the use of the towers and on the corner defenses so that the soldiers could shoot arrows and hurl down large stones from the walls. His fame spread far and wide. Baby, you gotta sit down. Lay down. Sorry, guys, I'm still talking to Callie. His fame was spread far and wide, and he was greatly helped until he became powerful. But after Uzziah became powerful, his pride led to his downfall. He was unfaithful to the Lord his God, and he entered the temple of the Lord to burn incense on the altar of incense. Azariah the priest, with 80 other courageous priests of the Lord, followed him in. They confronted King Uzziah, said, "It is not right for you to burn incense to the Lord. It is for the priest, citizens Aaron, who have been consecrated to burn incense. Leave the sanctuary, for you have been unfaithful, and you will not be honored by the Lord your God." Uzziah, who had a censer in his hand, ready to burn incense, became angry while he was raging at the priests in their presence before the incense altar of the Lord. Leprosy broke out on his forehead. When Azariah, chief priest, and all the other priests looked at him, they saw that he had leprosy on his forehead, so they hurried him out. Indeed, he himself was eager to leave because the Lord had afflicted him. King Uzziah had leprosy until the day he died. He lived in a separate house, leprous and banned from the temple of the Lord. Jotham, his son, had charge of the palace and governed the people of the land. The other events of Uzziah's reign from the beginning to end are recorded by the prophet Isaiah, son of Amos. Yep, yeah, he is, that's what I thought. Uzziah rested with his ancestors and was buried with them in the cemetery that belonged to the kings. The people said he had leprosy, and Jotham, his son, succeeded him as king. Jotham was 25 years old when he became king, reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. His mother's name was Jerusha, daughter of Zadok. He did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, just as his father Uzziah had done. But unlike him, he did not enter the temple of the Lord. The people, however, continued their corrupt practices. Jotham rebuilt the upper gate of the temple of the Lord and did extensive work on the wall at the hill of Ophel. He built towns in the hill country of Judah and forts and towers in the wooded areas. Jotham waged war against Ammonites, conquered them. That year, the Ammonites paid him hundreds of talents of silver, 10,000 cores of wheat, and 10,000 cores of barley. The Ammonites brought him the same amount also in the second and third years. Sorry. Now you know why I wasn't sure whether I was going to come on or not. Okay, verse 6. Jotham grew powerful because he walked steadfastly before the Lord his God. The other events in Jotham's reign, including all his wars and all he did, are written in the books of the kings of Israel and Judah. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. Jotham rested with his ancestors and was buried in the city of David, and Ahaz took over and succeeded him as king. Ahaz was 28. What was 20 when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 16 years. Unlike David his father, he did not do what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He followed the ways of the king of Israel and also made idols, worshiping the Baals. He burned sacrifices in the valley of Ben Hinnom and sacrificed his children in the fire and engaged in detestable practices in the nations the Lord had driven out before the Israelites. He offered Ben Hinnom, I don't know. Um, this is the Valley of Hinnom, um, which is mentioned in the New Testament, where the kings of Judah and Israel would sacrifice their children to Molech. So that's what that is. So when we get to the New Testament, when it's talking about the Valley of Hinnom, it's talking about this place right here. He offered sacrifices and burnt incense at the high places on the hilltops and under every spreading tree. Therefore the Lord his God delivered him into the hands of the king of Aram. The Arameans defeated him and many of his people prisoners and brought them to Damascus. He was also given into the hands of the king of Israel, who inflicted heavy casualties on him. And one day Pekah son of Remaliah killed 120,000 soldiers in Judah, because Judah had forsaken the Lord, their God of their ancestors. Zechariah, an Ephraimite warrior, killed Messiah, the king's son, Azrikam, the officer in charge of the palace, and Elkanah, second to the king. The men of Israel took captive their fellow Israelites who were from Judah, 200,000 wives, sons, and daughters. They also took a great deal of plunder, which they carried back to Samaria. But a prophet of the Lord named Oded was there, and he went out to meet the army when it returned to Samaria. He said to them, because the Lord, the God of your ancestors, was angry with Judah, he gave them into your hands, but ye ever slaughtered them in a rage that reaches to heaven. And now you intend to make men and women of Judah and Jerusalem your slaves, but aren't you also guilty of sins against the Lord your God? Now listen to me, send back your fellow Israelites you have taken as prisoners, for the Lord's fierce anger rests on you. Then summon the leaders in Ephraim, Azariah son of Jehohanan, Berechiah son of Meshelemith, Jehiskiah son of Shalem, and Amasa son of Hadlai confronted those who were arriving in the war. You must not bring those prisoners here, or we will be guilty before the Lord. Do you intend to add to our sin and guilt? For our guilt is already great, and his fierce anger rests on Israel. So the soldiers gave up the prisoners and plunder in the presence of the officials and all the assembly. The men designated by name took the prisoners, and from the plunder they clothed all who were naked. They provided them with clothes and sandals, food and drink, and healing balm. And those who were weak were put on donkeys, so they put them back to their fellow Israelites at Jericho, the city of palms, and returned to Samaria. At the time, King Ahaz sent to the kings of Assyria for help. The Edomites had again come and attacked Judah and carried away prisoners, while the Philistines had raided towns in the foothills of the Negev of Judah. They captured and occupied Beth Shemesh, Ajalon, Gederoth, as well as Soka, Timnah, and Gimzo. I almost said Gizmo. Yeah, I must have gremlins on the brain. With their surrounding villages. Oh God, that makes me feel old. Gizmo and gremlins. That makes me feel so old. You know how old I am, people? I'm old enough to have seen that movie in the theater. That's how old I am. All right, getting back to this nonsense. All right, verse 19. The Lord had humbled Judah because of Ahaz, king of Israel, for he had promoted wickedness in Judah and had been unfaithful to the Lord. Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came to him, but he gave him trouble instead of help. If anybody wants to know about Tiglath-Pileser, please go to Digital Hammurabi. They are a husband-wife team of Assyriologists. Okay, back to the Bible. 21. Ahaz took some of the things from the temple of the Lord and from the royal palace and from the officials and presented them to the king of Assyria, but that did not help him in his time of trouble. King Ahaz became even more unfaithful to the Lord. He offered sacrifices to the gods of Damascus who had defeated him, for he thought, since the gods of the king of Aram had helped them, I will sacrifice so they will help me. But they were his downfall and the downfall of all Israel. Ahaz gathered together furnishings in the temple of God, cut them in pieces, but he shut the doors of the Lord's temple and set up altars at every street corner in Jerusalem and every town in Judah, built high places to burn sacrifices to other gods, and aroused to anger the Lord of his ancestors. The other events of his reign and all his ways in the beginning are written in the kings of Judah and Israel. Ahaz rested with his fathers and was buried in the city of Jerusalem, but he was not placed in the tombs of the kings of Israel. And Hezekiah, his son succeeded him as king. Well, we got through all of it. Yay! Well, Purple, I think that's old. I mean, I think I'm old. Obviously not you, but I mean, I'm getting old. I don't know where Gizmo came from. I have no idea where Gizmo came from. Like, I have not even I have a DVD that was like $3 from Walmart, of Gremlins, but I haven't watched it in a very long time. So I have no idea where Gizmo came from. Maybe it's because Gizmo popped out first and I just read it as Gizmo instead of Gimzo. That's a good way to look at it, Purple. That's a good way to look at it, for sure. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, I haven't been on lately because I've been sick. And you can tell by my sniffling that I'm kind of sick. Um, not not too sick, not C word sick, okay? Not that kind of sick. I'm just, you know, um, more sniffly sick, more uh I don't know. At any rate, it's 27, mostly clear, and 12:12 a.m. Hey, Gregory, in good old Eugene, Oregon. And you know what? I I'm not a political channel, but I just got to say, um, there is a civil war in the MAGA movement right now. I call them maggots. Okay, they don't deserve my respect. Just saying, they don't deserve my respect. So I call them maggots. But there is a civil war in that cult, and I'm loving it. Got my popcorn ready, and you know, in case anybody was wondering, um, Attorney General Garland has appointed a special counsel all the way from The Hague. Yep, Trump is in trouble. And hopefully, we will finally get justice. You know what I say? Don't fuck with America. And you maggots that got through 2022 elections, you're probably going to come out in the 2024 elections. And the maggots who remain in the Senate probably will be booted in the 2026 elections. So, yeah. You know what? You know what, maggots? There's a story I've I've said it before on here about a scorpion and a frog, and a frog was crossing a stream or something, and the scorpion asks the frog for a ride over to the other side, and the frog says, "But you're a scorpion, and as soon as I get you to the other side, you're going to eat me." And Scorpion says, "Oh no, I'm not going to eat you." So Froggy says, "Okay." So he gives the scorpion a ride to the other side, right? And the scorpion stings him in readiness to eat him, right? And the frog says, "But you promised." And the scorpion said, "I'm a scorpion. What did you expect?" So always keep that story in mind. I know some people have heard it with like different animals, but yeah, just always keep that story in mind. You do not want to make your bed with the devil. Not that I believe in the devil, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that'll be it, and hopefully we can look forward to some justice. As long as he's kept from running for office, I don't really give a shit. So anyway, right, purple. So anyway, so yeah, my voice is going. So I'm gonna go. Have a nice morning because it's morning where I am. So yeah, have a nice day, everyone, and um, toodaloo. Hopefully, I will be on later on today. Oh, it just depends. I've been, uh, honestly, um, I've been sleeping on and off, so there's no telling. There's no telling. I'm hoping to be. Let's put it that way. Alrighty. Bye, guys.